Hello YouTubers. On a prior post I talked about the design and build of Bambachi foods from a Walthers kit. Today I'm going to talk about design and build of Ballard printing and publishing from a Walthers kit. Specifically, it was Kitbashed from the Walthers Lakeville warehouse kit, which is a fairly large building. On my layout, it's a fraction of what the total kit includes. I cut it at an angle just to give some variation so that not everything is in the same orientation. The siding goes at a bit of an angle. I would say it's about, if I had to guess, it's about 10 degrees. There's a fence around here, which I talked about in a prior video. It's an alloy forms fence. So just open that and get these rail cars out of here. So there are two loading bays, numbered 1 and 2, and a couple of utility poles that are not permanently mounted yet. So let's remove those. So you can see the siding has a couple of bumpers at the end. Got some trash and pallets. I need to paint the pallets. I've also got a natural gas meter and an electrical box. Those both have to be painted and applied to the side of the building. Roof features, like most of my buildings, come from the Walthers roof detail kit. So there's an air conditioning unit there and a couple of vents, a chimney. These gutters that you see here are just styrene, evergreen styrene square, and just cut little sections for the tops. I've got 1, 2, 3, and then on the wall is a photograph of the actual model wall, and then I printed that out once I got it to the right size, and I took photographs of the roof features. So that's just glued onto the wall there with an actual gutter made from styrene. So that makes it appear that the building's continuing off into the backdrop. Over on this side, you can see this is where the road comes into a drive where the trucks can pull in, similar to the bakery, the food plant. I wanted to have trucks visible. So there's 2 loading bays here, and I've got a little scene with some guys pushing a pallet out to this small delivery truck, which is it's a decal of a actual place up in the Northeast. So let me move the trucks out of the way just so we can get the building out of here carefully. One feature I should show too is I guess it's a fire hydrant. So using the Walthers piping kit, I had some extra piping, so I thought it would look kind of cool to have a water outlet there. Given that it's a printing and publishing facility, they've got their own water fire hydrant. There's a fire hydrant here that's currently knocked over, but this is within their property. So let's just pull this building forward carefully. So taking a look. Again, I don't do any weathering underneath. I just have it painted brown, and then I have the ballast go right up to the side of the building, and I try to put some foliage and overgrowth close to the building. Let's look at the back side of the building. Let's see what I did here. Looks like a mess, but basically it's just a bunch of random pieces of styrene that I had left over to shore up. Since it's such a long building and there's such a thin roof, it definitely will, it'll warp or sag without support. So I've got a couple of pieces here, and then I've got one right in the center there as a leg to hold that up. And then you can see I held the walls together with another piece of plastic there. So pretty straightforward. The most difficult thing was, honestly, was measuring that angle so that it matched the siding, because the siding was put in first, and then cutting that and then getting it smooth so that it fit against the wall. The trick for me when I do that is is I use a rasp once I cut it. Either a file or a rasp. In this case, I used a rasp. And that allows you to shape it pretty quickly and pretty accurately. All right, so there we go. That's in place. So that's what the building looks like. As far as painting, I just sprayed it with dull coat, and I used some powdered pigments to give it a little bit of grunge. I did paint the door guards here, as well as painted the doors and the steel plate under the doors. And I painted the doors and the frames around the loading bay there, loading bays, and then decals and homemade signs. So a little bit of light wash around the bricks down here. Not wash, but pigment, powdered pigment. And what I will do is, because there are some seams still visible when I put this electric box, I'll put that right up against the seam. I'll cover that. And I'll do quite a bit more weathering over time, but a little bit of rust on the painted roof features. So overall, from a distance, it looks good, but over time I'll get more detail going on. So that's that building. What I'm going to do next with that is I'm going to open bay number 1. I'm going to open that door. I'll have to unglue it and open it just so that the top of the door is showing, and then I'll put an interior scene. I've got a forklift truck that I'll put in there, and then I'll put a floor and some walls with some photograph of rolls of paper, things that you'd see inside of a print and publishing facility. So at least there's some interest, not just closed doors. So when you pull the car out, you can actually look in there and you'll see, I'll probably have a figure or two, and then I'll have a forklift with a pallet with some paper rolls on it. So that'll be a separate video. Yeah, so there's 2 car bays. I've got a derailleur and the gates. I'm going to move that derailleur because it bumps into the gates right now. So I have it set up so that each of the car spots is separated with space. So you've got to line up. Makes it a little bit more challenging. You've got to line the doors of the boxcar up with the doors of the warehouse. And then over here you've got a scene going on with the trucks. It's not finished yet. Obviously that's why that guy's doing a face plant. And the 2 power poles or utility poles I talked about. So this one, once it's mounted, that drops a line. It drops a line from a transformer into this building for power. Stay. And then I've got another, it'll continue on to this pole here, which actually drops a line into the ground for a ground transformer back here at the food plant, and then it'll continue wires back behind the food plant and then out to this line here, to this pole here. So that is what I call Ballard Printing and Publishing. The name comes from my wife's side of the family. All of these buildings' names are based on something, usually something personal. So that's what it looks like. A lot of extra parts, because as you can see, it's a small slice of the actual structure. The nice thing is you have those parts to use for other things, but I think it came out pretty good. Once I get that door open and get some details on the inside, that'll add another element of realism. So that is it. That is the printing and publishing facility. I hope that was interesting, useful. If you got comments, suggestions, please leave them. And as always, like and subscribe. Cheers.